This is the Farm Monitor. For over 50 years, your source for agribusiness news and features from around the Southeast and across the country, focusing on one of the nation's top industries, agriculture. The Farm Monitor is produced by one of the largest general farm organizations, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now here are your hosts, Ray DeLessio and Kenny Bergamy.
Well, I hate to disappoint, but once again, it's just me flying solo with you for the next 30 minutes. Like last week, Kenny B is on the road fulfilling his other Georgia Farm Bureau obligations, but he did want me to pass along a message to you. It reads, hey gang, miss all of you. Can't wait to see you when I get back. And oh yeah, we've got a really good show for you today. With that read, here is what's coming up on the program. Of course, no more controversial Waters of the U.S. rule. That is history. In its place, a newer, more improved version. Damon Jones breaks it all down for us. Last week, of course, we showed you Georgia's very first all-robotic dairy. That would be Hillcrest Dairy in Deering, Georgia. We heard from owner Mark Rogers on why he switched to robots. Well, this time around, he gives us the play-by-play on how they work, what all they do, and how it's made his life and his employees' life a little less hectic. Plus, we also have this for you.
Well, hey everybody, Ranger Nick coming up. If you've got livestock to move this weekend and you want to know how you can move those animals from point A to point B safely, I'm hanging out at the Northeast Georgia Livestock Auction, and I'm going to tell you what to do before, during, and after you move those animals, so you want to stick around for that. That and so much more starts right now on the Farm Monitor.
After a long and complicated battle to define what bodies of water are subject to federal regulations, a resolution has finally been reached. Damon Jones gives you the details of the new Navigable Waters Protection Rule and what it means for the ag industry.
Ever since the 2015 WOTUS ruling, the agricultural community has been concerned that the definition of navigable waters protected by the federal government was both overreaching and vague. However, that has now been repealed by the newly passed Navigable Waters Protection Rule, which clearly outlines which bodies of water fall under the Clean Water Act.
We set up 4 very clear categories of water. So traditionally navigable waters in the territorial seas, tributaries of those that flow more than just in response to rainfall. So like Peachtree Creek here in Atlanta that feeds the Chattahoochee. The third category are, I guess we call them our round waters, lakes and impoundments of jurisdictional waters that contribute flow to jurisdictional waters, and finally wetlands that are adjacent to jurisdictional waters. Your farm pond constructed in upland, this is not.
While this new ruling will roll back some of the regulations, EPA wants to make it clear that the environment will still be well protected.
I think the rule is very clearly tied to the language of the Clean Water Act. The words in the Clean Water Act when we talk about waters of the U.S. Are navigable waters. And so this rule protects our navigable waters. And the underlying premise for each of those categories is that there is a clear tie to navigability. These are key waters that feed our nation's navigable waters.
And this recent ruling is good news for farmers and ranchers on a number of different fronts. Not only does it narrow the federal oversight, but it also gives them some clarity heading into the future.
Still protects the environment, still does things, provides leadership in that area, but still provides a reasonable and sound policy for the people that are producing food and fiber for all of us and being good stewards of the land as they always are. We now have got some real defined areas of where there are navigable waters, and we can promote a policy that landowners and farmers, foresters, ranchers all across this country can finally understand.
The new rule will also improve the process of federal permitting by clearly defining requirements, which should ease the regulatory process. That's a far cry from previous years where farmers and ranchers had to spend an inordinate amount of time and money getting federal approval.
You know, as y'all know, it really has been decades of confusion and litigation around the definition of waters of the U.S. And so to have a clear definition that's based in law is wonderful. For a great deal of time, and particularly in the wake of the 2015 rule, just a real difficulty understanding where federal law applies. If you want to do something on your land, do you need a federal permit and the cost that entails? And so very often folks would have to retain lawyers, consultants, hydrologists to tell them what they could do on their land. And so this provides a clear definition that is understandable and tied to the law so that folks know what they can do with their land and they can use their land as they see fit within the confines of the law.
This new ruling will go into effect 60 days after it's entered into the Federal Register. Reporting from Atlanta, I'm Damon Jones for the Farm Monitor.
Well, as you know, Georgia is one of the leading cotton producing states in the nation, and the crop has a huge impact on the state's economy. Recently, growers gathered for the Georgia Cotton Commission's annual meeting to discuss important information that will help keep the industry profitable. John Holcomb has that story.
At the University of Georgia's Tifton Conference Center, a large crowd attended a very important meeting for Georgia's cotton industry. Now in its 13th year, the meeting allows producers to hear from experts on all things cotton, as well as a chance to see what all the commission is doing each year.
Some 13 years ago, we piggybacked with the Georgia Cotton Production Workshop. We wanted to take that opportunity to let our producers know what their checkoff program is doing for them, and that's why, we have the breakout sessions where they can hear the latest research findings, et cetera, and also they're repeated in the afternoon. But we try to bring in speakers that are very relevant to what's going on in the industry, for our part of the program, and also give them a little report on exactly what we're doing.
The importance of the meeting can't be overstated as they bring in speakers, researchers, and experts to talk about the latest information on the industry that producers can take back home to their operations to help them be more efficient and help their bottom line.
They can come and drink from the fire hose of knowledge. They're going to hear the latest, research and extension recommendations for cotton. They're going to have industry professionals either telling them what they're doing, giving them their perspective on what's going to happen, and hopefully that will enable them, what they learn here today will help them make better decisions on their farm and be more efficient, because that's exactly what the commission does with the dollar bill that we invest on their behalf, is figuring out ways for them to be more efficient and do things better on their farm.
One big factor that producers usually, or at least should be looking at, is the outlook on U.S. cotton. According to John Robinson, an extension economist with Texas A&M, the outlook for the price of cotton is still very much up in the air and depends mostly on how much gets planted in 2020.
We're first of all looking at a question of how much it's going to be planted. With the rise in prices that we've seen, we may not see a drop in acreage, and so that leads to the question, well, how much will be left over at the end of the year? Because that's really the expectations of how much is left over is the main driver on prices.
One other factor he touched on was trade, which has been an issue for cotton producers for around 18 months. As most are aware of at this point, the U.S. and China have signed the first phase of an agreement, but according to Robinson, he's not sure it's going to help very much, especially in the beginning.
It's really uncertain. I think it has helped already in that both countries agreed that they weren't going to raise tariffs further, and I think that's a relief to the market, and I think that last little round of buying probably is what pushed the futures market over 70 cents. Beyond that, I don't know that it's going to really benefit the cotton market until it leads to large new export sales of U.S. cotton to China. And until the market sees a steady stream of that, I don't know that there's going to be any more market effect of the Phase 1 agreement.
Reporting in Tifton for the Farm Monitor, I'm John Holcomb.
Hey everybody, Ranger Nick coming up. I'm hanging out inside of a tractor trailer about to haul some cattle long haul. We're going to talk about what to look for in this thing for a safe run. We're moving in. It's coming up next.
All right, welcome back to the show. State, national, and even world champions gathered in Atlanta recently to celebrate the annual Youth Equine Day at the Georgia State Capitol. It's an event that recognizes their accomplishments while also spreading awareness about the horse industry.
Well, today, like many years in the past, we have invited the cream of the crop when it comes to young people in the equine industry to come to the Capitol to see how our government works and to be able to show them appreciation for the accomplishments that they have made in the past year.
So they are being recognized by the Georgia Equine Commission Group with a certificate for their accomplishments, and to bring them together into the Capitol and let them see the government at work and how important it is, not just to the horse industry, but to every industry in Georgia, and hopes to maybe plant that seed that they will serve and lead the horse industry in the future as well.
Across the street at the Capitol, there are people over there making decisions that actually will affect the horse industry. And we want to make sure that the people across the street know that we're here, know what we do, know that we do a good thing, and the way to do that is to bring what we feel like is the cream of the crop.
You know, it's not an easy path to feeding a horse every day, cleaning stalls, taking care of them, grooming and working to accomplish that goal in the arena. And a lot of these kids do it the hard way. They're not kids who have really had a lot given to them.
What you find is that you have to have that child that it's just in them. They want to ride horses. They want to do something about horses. And I have to tell you that you always hear about cowboys, but the truth is that about 75% of your horse owners are actually the cowgirls. If you like horses, most young people find their niche, their discipline or a couple of disciplines that they like, and dive right in.
Well, speaking of equines, here's something that might surprise you. Ranger Nick, he gets a bit timid and nervous around them. It's true. Cattle, on the other hand, not so much. In fact, while filming our latest episode, he handled them like an old pro.
Well, those of y'all that have been watching Ranger Nick for some time know I am an animal fan, and I love turtles and snakes and birds and all different kinds of critters, but I don't get a chance to hang out with cattle a whole lot, specifically how to move cattle from point A to point B. But I do get a chance to hang out with a gentleman that knows a few things about that, and that's Jake Wilcox. Jake, good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, Jake is a barn operator out here at Northeast Georgia Livestock, and we're going to talk about the steps to getting cows moved from those 2 points, and it begins with a pre-trip of a truck and a gooseneck trailer like this, and that's what we want to start off today. Jake, walk us through what are some things from a safety standpoint, not only personal but animal safety, we need to be keeping in mind?
Absolutely, there's just a few things we're going to check. First off, probably want to flip our lights on.
All right.
And then as we go back, we can check and see that some of our running lights are working.
Good.
Make sure we have safe operating conditions on those.
Okay.
We're going to want to check and make sure that your gooseneck tongue is hitched and that the pin is down so that your trailer doesn't bounce off safety chains.
All right.
Come back
There,
here.
there.
Make sure your trailer wire's plugged in good and tight so that our lights have a good connection.
Right.
All right. Our
On the
jack.
trailer, too.
Yep. Our jack is up. Okay.
Okay.
As we walk back down this side, we're going to check both tires. Make sure that we seem to have proper tire inflation. You can use a you could use a gauge to check those, but these tires look pretty good. This is a nice kind of new trailer.
It is a new trailer.
As we get back here, we're going to look, and see we got our running lights. They all seem to be in good working order. You can also test your blinkers, test your brake lights, just to make sure people see what you're doing when you're hauling your cattle.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's get in this thing.
Especially on a wet day like today, we're going to want to check and make sure our floors aren't too wet, too slick, too much muck in them. You want to keep your trailers good and cleaned out.
And Jake, look at this floor. Not to interrupt you, this is a rubber floor that's kind of corrugated like that. Really probably good for grip.
Yeah, these a lot of these new trailers like this one here that we're in today will come with what they call these life-proof or lifetime floors.
Okay.
Rubberized floors. They do have a grid pattern to help with slippage and not have any problem with cattle going down or slipping in wet conditions or when there gets to be some urine or muck in here.
That's right.
And so, when we're getting ready to load, our cattle on the trailer, we're going to want to make sure that our gates are back out of our way, so that we can, or if we're getting ready to load, we make sure they are unhooked where you could shut them easily on the cattle as you load them. Check for any sharp objects. In a new trailer like this, you're not going to have much trouble.
Sure.
But a lot of times, a place to focus is down here near the bottom. You'll get a lot of rust down toward the bottom. Sometimes you don't want a leg poking out, poking through, getting cuts, scrapes, and stuff like that. Your livestock's your investment. A lot of these farmers, it's their way of life, how they make a living. And so taking care of them in transport, that's a lot of times the highest stress, most movement, most confined area those cattle will ever be in.
Absolutely.
And so taking care of them during that transport time is real important.
Well, I'm a big fan of making sure those animals are safe and healthy and feeling good while they're moving. And in fact, that even involves them being low stress. What I want to talk about next is getting them on and off of a trailer like this and some of the best practices. So let's go there next. So Jake, we got some cows about to come off the trailer here, getting the doors opened up. Why are we doing this inside of a small corral like this as opposed to an open field? Why not just dump them out in the open?
A lot of times, especially when you're coming home from, say, a stockyard or bringing some new cattle to your place, it's always a good idea to condition those cattle to being on your place. They're used to what they've been home all their life. And so coming to a new place can kind of be an exciting time for them and can be a little stressful. And so a lot of times what you'll want to do is just come right behind them like we're doing here.
Okay.
And just come and be able to shut them up and just give them a few minutes to kind of decompress, think about what they've done on their trip. We'll check them, make sure we hadn't had any injuries coming home, no scrapes or cuts or bruises that we might need a doctor while we have them up. It's just a great idea to have them in a kind of confined space when you first unload them. That way that they're not just as they came off the trailer there fast that you saw, they're not doing that in an open pasture where they may or may not know where the fence is.
Absolutely. And I love that you talked about making sure that their stress level's down, because that's something we talk about quite a bit, affecting them, and we want to keep it low stress.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so Jake, we're standing inside of a tractor trailer, 53-foot trailer that they're putting the cows in. I've never been in one of these, pretty cool. When you're looking at something like this before you load the cows on, what are you looking for to make sure it's a safe place for them?
We're making sure there's nothing that's sticking out that's sharp or any objects. The truck driver's just come up here and he set his ramps and he's got everything ready to go. So we're gonna load. You want to load from front to back. So he's got his ramps set down. And if you watch these ramps, they move up and down. And so his cattle can load right down there, get the nose loaded first, and then we can drop those ramps down and load from front to back. We'll get our top loaded. We'll come back here. There's also a belly underneath there, so there's another level. There'll be 2 layers of cattle here, so one on top, one on the bottom. No porous floor. You don't want any holes in the floor. That's a big thing to check it, whether you're loading a pot like this or whether you're loading your livestock trailer at home, is to really check those floors so that you don't have any legs sticking through. You don't have any problems like that. And this trailer looks like it's ready and good to go. If you're when he gets ready to come up here, he may come up here and go ahead and he's got his door latched right here, so that it won't swing open into his way while he's trying to load. When he gets ready to load this section, he might come up here and go ahead and just pull that pin and have it where it is ready, where he could shut it if he was in a hurry to make sure he didn't have some cattle come back on him.
Now he's in here, that driver is in here when those cows are coming on, and that's dangerous.
Either that or they'll follow them on. It just depends on the type of cattle you're dealing with. If you've got more docile cattle, you may stand in here out of the way and let them just walk by you. If you have some more, maybe some dominant influence cattle or something that's got a little speed or a little, blow to them, something that might be a little mean, you might wait down there, and then, you could even, if the cattle get to be as, rough to handle as something that's mean, you might even, have a rope or something tied to this where they can pull it from the outside so as to not have a chance of injuring yourself when you're loading your cattle.
Absolutely. This is such good info for folks at home knowing. I've never been in one of these trailers. This is so cool. Before they get on, so let's get the heck out of here. Well, I tell you what, y'all, I know that you have seen the power of the dog here today working. And Rodeo, we want to thank you for all the work you did today and keeping all these cows straight, getting on the truck. And I got to thank Jake. Jake, thanks so much for hanging out with us today. You did such a remarkable job. And Josh, we appreciate you taking care of this good girl right here, too. Anywhere Josh is, Rodeo's going to be with it. Y'all, I hope you've enjoyed it. And y'all know what to do. When you're online checking out the Farm Monitor on YouTube, hop on over to the Ranger Nick Facebook page and check that out and some of the animals I'm messing around with there. And until next time, for the Farm Monitor, I'm Ranger Nick, reminding you, like I always do, that enthusiasm is contagious. So pass it on. Y'all, thanks so much for watching, and we'll look forward to seeing you right back here again next month. See ya.
When we come back, as promised, part 2 of our visit with Hillcrest Dairy owner Mark Rogers. Mark shows us all the cool innovations behind his brand spanking new milking robots. On last week's show, we brought you part 1 of the major transformation going on at Hillcrest Dairy and how they've moved from traditional milking practices to the innovative future of robotic milking. As mentioned, Hillcrest, now Georgia's first all-robotic dairy. In part 2, owner Mark Rogers gets more in-depth. He throws on that technician cap and shows us what all these things do and how it makes both his and his staff's workload a little bit easier.
All right, here's our DeLaval VMS milking machine. VMS means voluntary milking machine. So we're not making these cows come to milk. They're coming to milk because they want to come in here. They get a little extra feed when they get here, and what we're seeing here is play-by-play is this is the wash cup. It comes on, and this cow's been laying in a nice sand bed where she's very comfortable, but you may see a little bit of sand on her teats. This is going to completely clean her, have her very sterile before it ever tries to milk the cow, and it also stimulates the cow to want to milk. And now we're attaching the actual milking cups. Once it attaches all the units, we can actually look at all the data right here on our monitor board. And I can look at the same data on my phone. So it's telling me how much milk each individual quarter is given. It tells me how much it expects her to give. It's expecting this cow to give 53 pounds while she's in here. And you can see it clicking up. She's up to 8, 9, 10, and it'll keep going up. And this is what we want to see, this cow come in, she's comfortable, she's getting fed. She came in because she wanted to get milk. We don't have to be here, and she can do all this without us standing right here with her. This is basically a small self-contained dairy. It comes in a box from Sweden. DeLaval's a company that's in Sweden. So on this thing, this is the receiver where all the milk goes to. It examines it. We're going to make sure it has no impurities. If it did or it sees anything, it will dump it down the drain, so it will not ever make it into the human food supply. But it captures it, sends it to the milk tanks. You've got individual meters here that monitor the production of each quarter of the cow. So it helps us monitor her health, make sure that each quarter is performing to its normal level, which I think is really great. And a little bitty pump that pumps the milk to the milk tanks. Robots are really great in that you just get tons and tons of information. This is my personal smartphone here. It tells me where the cows are in the process, who needs to be milked at this time. It gives me a warning if I've got a cow I want to look at. I can tell it to trap the cow. Just hold her in there until I can get over there. It'll keep her for up to about 10 minutes, and we can come and look at the cow, make sure she looks good, and then release her. So we can always look at that. It tells me my production up or down from yesterday and tells me what they're doing on that 24-hour period. And then up here, we can look at our milking schedules, what's going on there. We can actually look at the same cow information on individual cows here, what they've been doing. This is a great tool, and I can access all of this from my phone as well. This is one of the great things about having a robotic dairy is you kind of end up with a lot nicer office, which is great for a farmer. And I don't like to spend a lot of time in here, but when I come in, I can look and see if I got a cow calving. I can look at data from that day. I can look at cow records on this program here. We can look at how the wash system, how the robots are doing on the main server here. And we've even got 2 more robot stations here on farm. One's in the herdsman's office for the 2 robots, and one on the far side of our freestall barn has another station for the ladies and guys over there when they need to check on a cow. They can look up data without having to come back here, as well as look it up on their phone. So it's really great. We actually encourage our staff to get on their phone and look at stuff. We want to look at cows. We do training on there and the information. So it kind of helps with the millennials we're working. Hey, we go, hey, take your phone out of your pocket and be looking at cows and doing some other things with it. So it gives them an opportunity to use that phone for a really great purpose here on the farm every day.
Mark, thanks so much for your time, and thank you for watching. We'll see you back here next week for an all-new Georgia Farm Monitor. Be safe.